The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it.
Hi, Nate.
Hi, Steph.
How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Great. Do you want to talk about what Naughty by Nate's chair is?
Yeah, we can talk about Naughty by Nate's chair. I guess Naughty by Nate's chair is an idea that's been around for like 10 years, but nothing's ever happened.
Okay.
I think I got hurt in like 2010, and then I spent the early part of 2011 in hospital settings and like living in a rehab hospital.
Sure.
And then when I got home, I was going to rehab all the time, and it was like an hour and a half away from my house.
You were going back to Boston?
No, it was in Canton, Mass.
Oh, so you're like farther away?
It's like south of Boston, but it's like around it.
Oh,
so
I know.
You like loop around. But then a lot of times I would go home through Boston. But anyways, whatever.
Yeah.
So I was in the car a lot. Like at first I was going 3 days a week. So it was like 15 hours or whatever a week spent in the car. And that was in 2011, 2012 when podcasts first started blowing up, and it was, Joe Rogan was like the only podcast that anyone in the world knew.
Right.
So I listened to Joe Rogan a lot with my mom. And then that's in those early days, he would have all the famous people that you didn't know about on, you know what I mean? Like authors or like scientists and historians. And
sure.
So then we started finding out about other people. And then I found Dan Carlin because he was on there. And he was he's like a history podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So he'd tell stories about the Mongols or like whatever. And they'd be these long, like 5-part podcasts. And each podcast would be like 4 hours, 6 hours long. So you get to listen to them in chunks. But over the course of and each one would come out like months apart because you do all this research and make these like really long, in-depth podcasts. Mm-hmm. And they're so good and so entertaining. So I would my mom and I would listen to them together in the car because she liked history stuff. And it was like one of the only things where it was like we could do it in the car together and we both liked it, instead of finding music where like the other person likes or whatever. So I got into podcasts then, like just listening to them all the time. And I guess it always seemed so easy. It was the idea of it where it's like, I guess you can just do it at home. Everybody, even like Joe Rogan and all those guys before any of them had video, like every podcast was audio. So you would just listen to it anyways. So it was like, anybody can do this. There's no commercials. It's a radio show, but without any structure unless you wanted to have it.
Sure.
Or like without commercial breaks and without, like the weird radio voice, like the whole thing.
Or broadcasting.
Yeah, broadcasting like by a network where like it's people getting a job to do a certain thing.
Sure.
Whereas podcasting is like, it's not a job. It's like, I want to talk about this thing. And if other people are interested in listening to it, they will.
Right.
So people are always telling me, you should have a podcast, because of my accident and the stuff that happened. And then like, because of the stuff that happened, like what I learned from it, the different things, you learn through struggle or through like whatever, like stuff that's different than what people are used to hearing about. And obviously that's why anybody like reads or watches movies or listens to podcasts is to like dip your toe into information you don't know about without having to actually have the repercussions of that thing.
We were talking about that yesterday.
Yeah.
How I was obsessed with like a grief podcast.
Yeah.
And
you don't have to lose anyone but you can be like, you can immerse yourself in the feeling at least to feel it.
Right.
Same thing like with a scary movie. It's like, oh my God, that movie actually scared me, but I didn't get stabbed and it was okay. And I knew I wasn't going to get stabbed, so I can playfully get scared.
Yeah, so vicariously.
Yeah. So it's like people can hear the story about me breaking my neck and all the stuff that happened, and maybe you can like learn from that story without you having to break your neck. You know what I mean?
Let's hope so.
Yeah. So that's the idea in my head where it was like, if I ever had a podcast, it wouldn't have to be about anything necessarily. I don't want it to be about anything, but I like talking to friends and I like hearing people's stories. Like good stories are my favorite thing in the world.
Sure.
Like sometimes a bad thing happens and it's like, or a crazy thing happens. And then you look at your friends and you're like, dude, this is going to be such a good story to tell so-and-so. They're going to love this. Even if it's bad. So like bad shit happens. But then later it makes a good story because nobody remembers the time you got a regular hotel room. But you remember the time you had the shitty hotel room where this and that and this happened and it caused you to this. And then you found a new restaurant you didn't know about because you were in a weird part of town. Whatever.
Domino effect.
So yeah, I like good stories. I like talking to people. And I like thinking about different subjects and like trying to figure them out and then explaining them to others in a way that makes sense to me so that it can make sense to them. You know, like sometimes you hear a history lesson at school and it's full of all different names of generals and dates and it makes you not care about the whole story. Sure. Whereas if someone's like, here's why it happened and here's the reason all this shit went down and here's the effect without even mentioning any names, then you're like, oh, that makes sense. I like hearing it that way.
Right.
So I always wanted to have a podcast just to like talk to people, but I don't want to have a podcast where I'm the only person. I don't want to be talking into the ether like a radio host. I just want to have conversations and record them. If other people want to listen, that's cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's.
So people,
I'm sorry to interrupt you. And my old friend Moose, he came up with the name Naughty by Nate's Chair, and it stuck in my head. That's all. I gotta give him. Yeah. I didn't come up with this.
And that's derived from
Naughty by Nature.
Naughty by Nature.
Yeah. The hip hop group from 40 years ago. 30 something years ago.
Yeah.
You down with OPP? Yeah, you know me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So the news is perfect. So it's always stuck in my head.
And why the hockey stick?
Because I'm a hockey head. I grew up playing hockey. I was a goalie when I was a kid, so that's why the goalie stick. Plus, I like what looks wicked sick, and the original logo had a baseball bat, so this just works.
Or with the sport theme.
And I like the hip hop community, the graffiti community, the scribbly community, the art community, all of it. So I just think it was cool.
Totally. So if there's people that are going to listen to this that have no idea who you are, maybe they see your art, things like that, but they don't really like know you. What do you want them to know about you?
I guess the obvious thing that people know about me, if they don't know me, is that I was in an accident and I became a quadriplegic because of that, and now I make artwork. Like that's like the world picture that everybody knows. Yeah. If they meet me or they tell people about me, that seems to be like I bought your shirt or I bought your art at a thing, you know, and then I heard about you or I read about you or my friend told me your story or whatever, and I think it's incredible. I think that's what I hear from other people. So that's like the story overall. But yeah, as far as like what I want people to know about me is, like I think the world's real crazy, and I think it's like real shitty right now. I think it's a great world and there's awesome stuff going on, but like there's shitty things happening everywhere, and I think it's kind of like infecting everyone's minds. But I guess what I would want people to know is that you have the choice over how you're going to see things and how you're going to do things and how things are going to affect you, which will then change how you affect those things. And because of my accident, like the first handful of years, like the first 5 to 7 years after my injury wasn't bad. You know, I still had fun. I did more stuff then than I do now as far as like going out. I was going to lots of concerts. I was trying to go on vacations all the time. I was traveling to cities. I was making my friends carry me up the stairs to get into clubs that I couldn't get into, like all kinds of shit. Because it was like I felt like I was like treading water, trying to like swim like I used to. You know what I mean? Like before an accident. But it's just like this is all the stuff I did. I used to go to clubs with my friends. I used to go, not clubs, but you know what I mean. Like, go out. And when I say clubs, it's like I just mean places I can't get into. Like back in the day, it's like here's a bar, it's upstairs in Boston. Like you wouldn't even think twice. You would walk up the flight of stairs and go to the bar. You wouldn't even think of it. You'd be like, this is a cool old bar.
Right.
But like I can't go in there. It's this chair weighs 350 pounds, and then I weigh a couple hundred, and then it's just like you can't bring me to certain places. And I used to just, you know, my friends were like all gung-ho, and I was too, in the sense where it's like, come on guys, let's go to this place, you can just carry me, we'll do it. And they would, but it's like, it's a whole thing, and it's a pain in the ass, and it's, I don't know, whatever. Like, over time, I realized that it's more fun for me to do the stuff that's comfortable for me and what I want to do and like what I like doing. And so in those first few years, even though I did more stuff, it wasn't like making me happy, and it wasn't like doing it for me. I was still like pissed off that I was in a chair or that I couldn't do what I did before. And I think I had like, I had a lot of anxiety and depression around the idea that I'll never be able to do what I want. You know what I mean? It's like, here's the things that I want to do, and now I can't do them. Therefore, I'm pissed off, or I'm sad, or I'm depressed, or I have no motivation or whatever, because it's like, why would I be motivated? Even if I do that thing, I'm still going to be pissed that I have to use a wheelchair and that I have all these difficulties or whatever.
Sure.
But then I like slowly over time, either I realized it or it just started to happen on its own, where if I didn't dwell on the things that I wanted to do that I couldn't, it's like if I dwelled more on the things that I wanted to do that I could, then I could be like stoked about stuff. Like part of the thing that was really ruining me is like I had nothing to be stoked about, or nothing made me excited. You know what I mean? Like I lacked excitement. Like things would happen.
Things
to
look forward to.
Yeah. It's like, hey, there's a thing happening. Do you want to go to the show? Do you want to go to this thing? It's like, sure, I'll go. But deep inside, I wasn't like, oh my God, I can't wait. I'm going to wake up early that day. I'm going to this, that. There was nothing. That just didn't exist. And I guess I didn't think about it. I wasn't like, how come I'm not excited about anything? How come nothing's like doing it for me? Like I'd rather sleep in than do anything. And I just thought it was because I'm a quadriplegic. Of course, my body's going to be tired. Of course, I want to sleep in. My body's different. I need more rest or whatever. But it's like, really, I just wasn't excited about anything. Nothing seemed cool. So I was like, But once some things started to happen, you know what I mean? Like I was afraid to date. You know what I mean? Because it's like, I just don't want to date this. It's a mess. And then something happens. Like what if I get pee on myself and she knows I get pee on myself sometimes? How knows I want to date that or whatever? You know what I mean? Yeah. And I couldn't get over it. And eventually I just did, or at least I took the courage to be like, all right, I'll get out of that box. You know what I mean? At least I'll make like a Tinder, maybe I'll meet, who knows, maybe I'll meet somebody. I like talking to girls. At least I'll get to talk to some girls.
Yeah. You can talk.
No problem. So, but then once a couple things happened that I was happy about, you know what I mean? And I realized that they were due to my own doing. Like, I'm talking to people because I made this step. You know what I mean? And then it's like, you get a good haircut or you buy a nice shirt because you're going to see someone that weekend. And then you look in the mirror and you're like, I look like less shit. Like, and that feels good. You know what I mean? And then you want to impress the person that you are meeting. So my skill is that I make artwork. So it's like, I got to show her some cool art when she comes over.
Sure.
That way she knows that I'm not like useless. You know what I mean? I'm capable of something. So then you do that and that feels good. You know what I mean? And then you're like, wait, I'm spending 5 days a week exercising and my body still looks exactly the same and I'm never going to walk again. And I'm still like gaining strength and stuff, but I'm spending $1 zillion a week going back and forth from therapy, gas, miles on my car, and I'm not enjoying myself. You know what I mean?
Right.
And when I come home from all that and I'm tired, let's say I take a nap. After my nap, I want to paint because now I have energy and I'm at home. And I get half a painting done. And it's like, man, I wish I had more time in the day so I can finish this painting. And then it's like, well, if I wasn't going to the gym 5 days a week and not even enjoying it, then I could paint 5 days a week and I would love it and I'd get so much time. Maybe I could make some money off it. You know what I mean? And then I wouldn't be poor all the time. And I wouldn't spend my days always wearing like exercise sweatpants and like exercise shirts so that like, oh, I'm at the gym again today. I can't wear an outfit that I like. They need to be able to stretch me. I got to wear gym pants like every day of the week. So I always look slobby and I'm always wearing a fashion I don't like. So then you start to wear your own clothes more. And then you start to like, then I get a couple paintings in a restaurant or something and I get to meet some new people. They buy the paintings off me and then they introduce me to their friend who has a restaurant or a bar or whatever.
Right.
Next thing you know, like a few things happen because I stopped being in the anxiety hole, and it was like I stepped out of the hole and I did some things and now that feels good, So when you say like, what do you want people to know about you? It's that like, even when like life can take the biggest shit it ever took like on your head, but like you're still alive after it happens. If you're not, you're dead. So we don't have to talk about this anyways. But like if life takes a big shit on your head and you survive the shit, you're like stronger from it. And then you should take that inner resiliency and like use it to fight against the world harder.
Mm-hmm.
Like it gives you more wisdom. It adds a little flair to you to be able to handle stuff and know that you can handle stuff. That's the other thing. Is like I know inside of me that like the worst thing has already happened and I can handle it. And I know the other worst thing is eventually I'm going to die, but I also now know I can handle that too. So it's like, bring it on. But so that's kind of like, so I want people to know about me is you can be like that too, or you are like that already. You just don't know yet because you haven't had to deal with it.
Right.
Yeah.
And it sounds like for a while you were just trying to do as much as you can to just like have the ability to do something, but it wasn't making you happy.
No,
but you found one thing that
think
did.
that you're busy. You know what I mean?
Right, being busy.
Or you are busy.
Right.
So you think that you're fulfilled, or at least you're not doing nothing. Especially if you're in a situation like mine where you need money a lot for just crap, like medical supplies.
Sure.
To modify stuff in your house. Like I always need money for just stupid shit that no one else needs to deal with. So you need to have like fundraisers and ask people to donate for it. And if you broke your neck and anytime anyone ever sees you, you're at your house and you're watching TV and you're gaining weight and you're eating snacks all day, and it's just like every time I see him, he's just hanging out. But what do you expect? He went through something rough, Yeah. But people don't want to like donate for you to like do nothing. You know what I mean? So, if you're doing something, whether it's like I'm trying to create artwork and I need money to like buy canvases or something, it's like getting people to buy stuff from you or donate to you. Now they think that they're helping you out with something, and they are. And that's way more. So it's like I also feel like I'm accountable to anyone who's like helped me without donations or whatever. It's like, I don't want to feel like a shitbag because I got a bunch of money.
You just took it and you're laying around.
Yeah. And that's stupid anyways.
Right.
Like what would be
what's the point?
Yeah. And then you're going to run out of the money. And it's like I'm trying to figure out a way to take whatever help I've gotten or get from people and turn it into something that I can use to be as self-sustainable as possible. It's hard to be self-sustainable when you're quadriplegic. It's just it's wicked hard. You'll always need help from people with certain things, but it's like I want to try to cover as much of it as I can.
So I know a lot of people don't know the difference between a paraplegic and a quadriplegic. They don't understand that those are two different things. Do you want to just explain what that is?
Yeah. So quadriplegic essentially means that it's like paralysis that affects all four limbs.
Quad.
That's where the quad comes from.
Yeah.
So quadriplegic is like a loose term. When people think of quadriplegics, they think of like somebody who's like this and they don't move and they talk move. And they're like, why? And maybe they breathe from a tube.
Yeah, and cognitively.
And there are a lot of quadriplegics like that.
Yeah.
There are who have all four of their limbs affected. I have all four of my limbs affected, but I can like flip my hands around. Sure. Because I broke my C5, like the higher up your spine breaks, the less stuff is affected. I mean, the more stuff is affected.
More stuff.
So like if you break your spine all the way down at the bottom, maybe your legs don't work, but your abs work, your arms work, all that stuff.
Right.
So a paraplegic is two.
Yeah.
So your legs. Paraplegic have just their legs affected.
Yep.
Now even quadriplegics break into different like categories.
Mm-hmm.
So quadriplegic is kind of loose, and then there's specifications for certain things. So I guess mine, I think, is technically called tetraplegia. It's a form of quadriplegia, but tetraplegia, it means that like I can't, all four of my limbs are affected, but I can still move my arms around. Right. But this is all shoulder and bicep. So
so you have your bicep.
I have my bicep and my shoulders.
Great.
No tricep, no forearms, no, like I can do this stuff and it looks like I'm moving my wrist, but I'm just using gravity to like walk around.
Okay.
So I wear the splint on my hand when I paint to keep my wrist from doing this.
Uh-huh.
To keep it like straight.
Yes.
Even the weight of the paintbrush is enough to make it go like boop.
Sure.
Yeah. So difference between quadriplegic and paraplegic is paraplegics. Like when you see someone in the grocery store and they're in a regular wheelchair and they're pushing it themselves with both hands and they're grabbing stuff off the shelf and stuff.
Yeah.
And then they hop in their car and they take their wheelchair apart and throw it in the back seat. That's a paraplegic.
Right.
Quadriplegics are a lot of times being driven around by someone else. So that's basically someone.
You don't have access to your hands.
Yeah. No hands.
Yeah.
There are quads that have like there's also incomplete and complete injuries.
Okay.
So a complete injury, which is what I have, that means like it's everything below the injury level is affected. An incomplete means maybe you bruised your spinal cord, but you might not have broken it all the way or whatever, and you're paralyzed. You can be an incomplete quadriplegic where all 4 of your limbs are affected, but maybe like your left hand still has some pinch on the fingers and your right hand can open, but it can't squeeze. You know what I mean?
So
there's levels.
Yeah.
All levels. Yeah.
Okay.
Like every injury is different. You say that. I know a lot of people who have like almost the exact same injury as me. C5 is pretty common for quads.
Right.
Because it's right in the center of your neck. So that's to reason like the place that's going to snap if you apply enough.
And that's
so 5 is very common.
Immediate.
Pretty much, yeah. Mine was. In the sense that like, well, the earlier you operate on an injury, the better chances there are that injury will do better because the cord runs inside of the bone. So picture these as 2 vertebrae with a cord that runs down like the center of the fist.
Okay.
So your spinal cord is in the fist.
Okay.
And the fists are the vertebrae. So I get in my accident and one vertebrae pushes back and off to the side like this, like 2 blocks that kind of came apart. And now the cord inside, instead of going straight up in a line, is going up, over, up, which is like not designed to do. So it stretches the cord, it damages the cord, and the cord swells. And the swelling inside the cord squishes the nerves. The nerves are on the outside of the cord. Picture like a ziti pasta with a hole in the middle.
Yeah.
The nerves are the outside, and the cord is in the center.
Yeah.
So when you bust it and the cord starts swelling, it squishes all the nerves inside the vertebrae. The nerves get squished, they start to die, and get paralysis. So the more time that the cord is allowed to swell, the more damage to the nerves. Whereas if you operate like immediately, you might be able to get ice or whatever on the swelling. I don't know if they use ice, whatever it is that they use to cut down. Put ice on your spine.
Yeah.
If he broke his neck, just put some ice on it. Yeah. Hell, maybe that actually works.
Maybe medication, maybe something else.
Well, for me, my neck was broken for like 3 days before it was putting back together. So I had a lot of swelling and it was like pretty ample time for it to set in.
I believe you told me though, when you were found, because you were in a car and just kind of.
Yeah.
You said, where are my arms, right?
Yeah. From what I know, like I heard this as a story. I don't remember.
Story.
Yeah.
But that would make me think that it was
pretty instant.
Yeah.
I imagine the effects are pretty instant, like the shock of it. You know what I mean?
But it could go back.
It could go back. Yeah. A lot of people, like when you first get hurt, the doctors will tell you like you're gonna get the most recovery in the first 3 months of like whatever, like natural recovery. Like you want to do recovery in the sense of you need to do therapy, you need to be like moving to gain strength back.
Yeah.
Like when I first got hurt, I could do like this, but it's like, okay, if you can do that, that means you can do this. But we just got to get your strength and those muscles back. Okay. Because when you lied in a hospital bed for a month straight, well, all of your muscles atrophied. And like, that's as quick as it takes. It's crazy.
1 month.
It does less than that. It takes not even a couple weeks. Like if you say you went to the gym every day and you became a bodybuilder and you spent years building your muscles up and then you broke your neck, it's going to take like 3 weeks for all those to go away, to be gone. And then you'd start all over again, like from scratch. Literally, it's crazy. Like I was 185 pounds, maybe 190 when I got hurt, and I was thin, like 6'4", 190, like thin.
That is.
And then I dropped 45 pounds after my accident, and I didn't have fat on me really, so I dropped 45 pounds of muscle just off me. I was 140 pounds. Crazy. It was crazy.
So much I weigh. That's crazy.
So I was like, yeah. So the effects, I think the effects are instant, but then it's like what happens as you start to heal is going to be different for every person. Some people make full recoveries from an incomplete injury. It's crazy. Some people walk again. I've met people who are like, I was a quadriplegic for like 5 months. It's like, dude, what? But now you're not. It's mind blowing.
At all? Like they can walk?
Yeah, they can walk and stuff, but then some of them might have to they have issues like peeing or something. You know what I mean? They might still have like an internal. Maybe they can't get a boner as good, or maybe like they have to do an enema in order to control their poop well. Like maybe because legs are actually the easiest things to get back because they're simple motor movements. Like your legs know what to do. They go forward, knee comes up. That's why like in your sleep, you can like run. You know what I mean? Like, or you see a dog and their legs are running in their sleep because it's like it's just forward. It's the same repetitive motion.
Right.
Hands are hard to get back because each finger can articulate a zillion different movements. So it's like learning all that is hard. Legs, it's like you need to make them go forward and stand, forward and stand. But like your reproductive system, your bladder system, your digestive system, and controlling all of that, that's a lot more complicated for your body to figure out than just step.
Sure.
Like you know how sometimes when your foot falls asleep, you can still walk. It feels crazy and weird, but you can still do it. Yeah. That's like that. If your like bowel system went to sleep and then someone's like, go take a nice controlled poop, you feel like, I already just did.
Or just, and even if it is fully functioning, you still have issues.
Yeah, there's difficulties that go with that stuff. So there are issues that go along with them. Sometimes you meet someone who used to be a quad and like one of their legs is real skinny or something and they just really can't grow muscle back on it. This is all different. It's a strange, spinal injuries are strange because your spine controls your whole body. So like you break this part and something weird happens over here. You break this part and something weird happens down here.
What about like the brain connection?
I've always thought about that too.
Yeah.
Like especially I know nothing. I don't know nothing, but I knew nothing before, especially about any sort of like internal energy systems. Like, you know, people learn about the chakras or different things. And they're like, you know, when you're sitting doing yoga or whatever, and you're trying to ground yourself and feel the ground and like feel the energy of the weight of your body going up through it and holding it up correctly and all these things. And it's like, my brain certainly would not have the same connection to my body that most people's would. However, my body communicates with my brain on its own just fine in weird ways. Like, it's like your body has two systems. It does, but it's literally combined with your consciousness at the same time. Like, you have your subconscious mind and you have your conscious mind. Mm-hmm. It's almost like you have your subconscious body and your conscious body too. They're like
certainly do.
You do, because you don't tell your heart to beat. You don't tell your lungs to breathe. You don't tell your bowels to digest food. You don't tell your feet to grow toenails. Like, you don't tell your body to do that stuff. So your body does that stuff on its own. But you tell your body to like move your hand, grab that cup. You know what I mean? So you have conscious movements, but then there's stuff that your body, like, you're not conscious of your legs when you're walking. They do that on their own too. Mm-hmm. So your body subconsciously does things on its own. Like, your body has its own brain that, not whatever, it knows what to do. And then you have your part that controls stuff, and that's the part that gets affected. You know what I mean? Like, I can't read the temperature. I can. My skin can't. Like, I know when I'm hot. I know when it's hot out because I can feel my face. I can feel the fact that I'm hot.
So, but if some, like a really hot teacup
touched my hand, I wouldn't feel it.
You wouldn't feel it?
No.
Okay.
No, but I could put my face in a warm teacup and be like, yeah, that's fine.
Your face will feel it because your face is
so it's like
the nerves.
Yeah. So if you grab my leg and I close my eyes, I can't feel that you're grabbing my leg, but my leg might spasm because my body feels that you grabbed it.
But that's why I think it's in the mind, because it's not connecting to your mind.
Yeah. It's weird. It's really weird stuff. Like, it makes me think that if there was like a bridge that they could build around the injury, like if you got a spinal cord injury and they're like, oh, we'll build a nerve bridge around it so that the nerves that got cut off on the way there will just connect back to around it, like a reroute. I don't know enough about it, but like in my head, that's how I picture it. And it's like, just fix the reroute.
It blows my mind that it has not gotten to a place of that, or there hasn't really been.
Either that or the technology exists. They're just using it to try to figure out computer brain interfaces instead. That pisses me off.
Yeah.
Like when they're like, we found a way for a quadriplegic to control a computer mouse with just his brain. It's like, that's awesome. Can you figure out how to make the quadriplegic control his legs with just his brain instead of a fucking computer mouse? Because how is the technology not like?
Yeah.
I don't know. I bet you exists.
Or
we have UFOs. Get the fuck out of here. They know how to fix me.
I know.
I don't know if they know how to fix me, but they know how to fix someone that just got hurt. You know what I mean? Like, once you're, that's the other thing is people have told me, like, if you could wake up, if there was a cure tomorrow, would you like want it or whatever? And I honestly don't know if I would, because I know if I woke up tomorrow and flipped the light switch and I could feel my whole body again, it would be screaming in pain. So like, I have a tube that lives inside of my bladder. I've been sitting on my ass for 12 years. My legs are so tight. My hands are so tight. Like, my back is so tight. My lower back, I'm sure, hurts wicked bad. Like, I imagine my feet hurt from not being walked on. I imagine just everything. And I imagine if you flip the switch on, I'd be like, turn it back off. You know what I mean? And if they were like, it's going to take a year of hard, intensive therapy to get back on your feet again, and the whole time it's going to burn and hurt, and you're not really going to have time to work and do your own thing, like, would I even want it? I don't think so. It's so I've been dealing with it long enough. It's just what it is. I don't know. I don't want extra, like, difficulty.
Yeah. And it never would be just a flip switch, right?
No.
It wouldn't be like that.
No, it wouldn't be like that. No. It would be some gradual, like, I don't even know what it would be, but I imagine it would be weird as fuck. You know, imagine like the people who are blind and they put those glasses on, or they get like an implant that makes them see for the first time. Imagine
they freak out.
Imagine,
imagine
if that hurt at the same time.
It does.
Not only like they see it, but also like, oh, imagine they've probably never seen a bright light before. It probably hurts.
Or like color. I remember watching this kid who never seen color.
Yeah.
And he put glasses on, saw color for the first time, and he got so emotional.
It's gotta be mind-boggling. I cannot. At least, like, because I wasn't born like this, like I know what it feels like to have a body.
Right.
I don't know what it feels like to appreciate having a body. You know what I mean? Like if you're born with it and your body just works, like you have no reason to be like, this is fucking gross. Every single second of the day to be like, I can go outside and fucking do whatever I want. I don't know that.
Yeah.
Like, but if I woke up tomorrow and I could do whatever I want, I would feel that way. You know what I mean? So I know what it's like to have a body, but I don't know what it's like to have a body and be like wicked stoked on it.
I will say, after you've come into my life, I have certainly found more appreciation for my body.
Sick.
And my way of just moving, like just wiggling my fucking toes.
Yeah.
So,
because I can remember all those sensations. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I remember what it's like to put my foot in the grass, and I remember what it's like to, you know, I just whatever it is you name it. I remember what it's like to burn my legs
even just
on a snowboard, like hitting bumps,
squeezing your hands.
Yeah, whatever it is. Yeah. Squeezing a squishy thing because it looks squishy.
Yeah.
Like I remember doing that. You know? Or going to the beach and like when the water comes up, it hits the sand and it's just squishy enough for your feet to sink in. And you sink in it and you watch the sand collect around your feet. And you're like, oh. I remember all that shit. So it's like, of course I can be nostalgic. And I would love to do those things again. But like what you just said, where you're like, you have a bigger appreciation for it now. Like after I first got hurt, one of my biggest like desires was to get my friends and like my brothers and stuff to do more stuff that I wish I could do because I couldn't do it. You know what I mean? It's like, you guys should be playing hockey like 5 days a week for fun, because if I could, of course I would be doing that if I could do it tomorrow. If someone was like, you can play hockey again tomorrow, but you'd have to do it 5 days a week. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Sign me up for all the ice skates, like all morning, night, whatever. But so having that perspective makes me like very encouraging to friends about like doing anything remotely adventurous. When someone's like, I kind of want to go, you know, hike and pitch a tent on the side of a mountain for a couple of days. Go do it.
You can just do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Cool. How do you feel right now?
A little bit stoned.
Do you like marijuana?
Yeah. But yeah, I feel good. I feel good. I had some last week. We went away to Canada, and I had some physical issues while we were there. We had a great trip. We had a lot of fun. But it always happens when I travel. I don't know. I get out of my routine of like where I sleep and like the smoothie I drink and the food that I eat and all of it. You get out of your routine. Drive. I never even think about 6 hours in a car. Hitting bumps probably makes me like want to poop. You know what I mean? Just a million different things. So my body, it just like feels weird. And it felt weird while we were there. And even though we still had fun, but it wasn't good, like for my body. And then we came home, and for like the next day, I just came home and crawled right in bed because the car ride home was so shitty and like gross, and I had headaches. My neck was tight. I just felt like dog shit. So I just came home and slept. And the next day felt a little bit better, and the next day after that felt great. And for the next week, like since then, I actually feel better right now than I've probably felt in a long time. I feel like incredible this week. Yeah,
you're super motivated and excited.
Yeah. Get off the seed oils, everybody. No more seed oils, the better.
Yeah. Were you on seed oils?
Everybody is.
No.
They're in everything. Just like look at your chips, safflower oil, sunflower oil, canola oil, vegetable oil. All those things are killing you. Along with maltodextrin and whatever all those chemicals are. And I don't know. Get clean everything. I've been trying to do it for like the last year. Caitlin and I have been doing it and just eating everything clean that we can. Of course, you go out to dinner and you get buffalo fingers because you need them a couple times a year.
Obviously. You literally need them.
And they're fried in a giant vat of like cancerous vegetable oil. So it's like I'm trying to get off all that stuff, baking my own bread, buying like organic coffee, organic actual milk, not like almond milk and stuff. Like I'm trying to get real everything. We've been doing it for a while, and I don't know, it's almost like the combination of getting off some of the medications, eating right, and being motivated about work and life stuff. The combo is bad. I have so much energy. I can't sleep at night because I'm thinking about what I want to do the next day.
Excited.
Except this morning. I did sleep in this morning because I've been doing that for like 5 days straight. I was like, I wanted to sleep.
Yeah.
So I slept in today. But I feel amazing. I feel wicked good. How do you feel?
I feel great as well. But I did have some chips yesterday.
That's okay.
Like nasty, like Lay's chips. I'm only bringing it up because I felt terrible.
Yeah.
And I could tell because I really do try to,
Once you make a conscious effort, I think your body gets used to liking the food that you eat.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have solider, better poops. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like for dinner, we eat grilled meat, whether it's chicken or turkey. We've been buying turkey breasts, like chunks of turkey breasts rather than ground turkey, because I think the ground turkey makes me shit because bacteria gets in when it's ground up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just...
So I'm staying away from ground meat. Chicken or beef or whatever, just on the grill. Make your own sauce, make your own spices.
Yep.
Vegetables on the grill, either one in the broiler if you want. And then just like rice, good pasta with nothing added to it, or bread that you made yourself.
Sure.
Butter. And that's it. Oil, like olive oil, avocado oil. Yeah. If you just eat that shit and then eat fruits and stuff in the morning and some like protein and or fats, like a yogurt or like get something in you to start the day that's like fat, carbs, get all that stuff in you to start the day. Stay away from the weird chemicals. Find the protein powder naked way. I get naked protein. It's got nothing in it, but like it's like protein, coconut sugar, and one other ingredient, and none of it's bad. I was buying the protein powder that had a list of ingredients that was like this long. And it tasted fine, but it was like, I don't want this anymore. Whey protein is what I get, yeah. I know that some people don't, like, lactose stuff doesn't agree with them, and some people don't agree with lactose products because of their animals and stuff. And that's fine. But for me, it works. It makes me feel good. I tried the plant proteins, like pea protein and all these different things. And like, they make me feel weird, and they make me poop, like fart a lot. I don't like it. I just don't like the way it feels. It feels weird. Like I get gassy midday, and like I never get gassy midday. So
there's just so much vegetables, and it probably is just like too much.
Yeah, I'm eating tons of vegetables with dinner every night, so I don't eat all that extra stuff.
Yeah, it's probably just added and whatever else they have in there.
Yeah, and also I think like waking up and having a smoothie instead of eating, because the smoothie ties me over until almost dinner. And I know that's crazy, but I drink a huge smoothie and I fill extra, leave that in the fridge for the afternoon.
Oh, okay.
But like if I drink that during the daytime from like 11 a.m. until like 2 or 3 in the afternoon, just have a giant smoothie that I'm working on. And it's got yogurt, and it's got protein, and it's got peanut butter, and it's got fruit, all kinds of shit.
All the things.
Oats, like we fill it up. That keeps me full, but it's also a form of like intermittent fasting. If you eat dinner at like 8 p.m., and then you don't eat solid food until 8 p.m. again the next day, and you just have smoothie in between, you drop weight like it's crazy, and you feel wicked good. Intermittent fasting, you don't have to do it on purpose. Just instead of eating a lot early in the day, just eat a tiny bit. Wait until the afternoon to get really hungry. And if you can manage to do that, your body will get used to it. And like it's weird. It's something your body does when you don't eat for a minute. It goes into like literally you don't eat for like 12 hours, and your body goes into this survival mode where it burns stuff inside off. It's like that's what you want.
It also just gives the body time to digest. Yeah. 12 hours is super doable and recommended. It's really when it gets up to like 16, 18.
Yeah, that's too long.
Yeah.
That's why I have to have the smoothie. If I don't, that's the other thing is when we went away on the trip, not having a smoothie and then being in like a different, like waking up in a hotel and not immediately having a big fat protein smoothie like I'm used to. my body was like it's like, where's my daily morning sugar protein?
Sure.
And like I was off, I just didn't feel as good.
Totally.
So yeah. And I've been doing the smoothie for like 2 years now.
I do one every day too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's a seed cycling, so it's supposed to help. Apparently, there's different, like with hormones, kind of regulate your hormones. Mm. So you have a certain set of seeds based off your cycle, and then another set, and those increase the estrogen and increase the testosterone, so they kind of can like level out.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
makes sense to me.
And
I mean, all of our bodies work on these cycles.
Exactly, and I don't even need to put. Sometimes I don't even need to put protein powder in it because I get the protein from the seeds. Mm. So, and I just put literally an entire cup of blueberries, wild blueberries, and strawberries, and just water and throw it back.
All about it.
And then it lasts, like you said, like hours.
I was feeling really weird before too. Like before I did the fruit smoothies,
what were you eating?
Just like food, but I was just
like eggs?
Anything. I was just eating food, but my problem was that I like felt lethargic in the mornings and I felt low blood pressure. Like I'd wake up and I'd come downstairs to start working and I'd be low. I'd have to sit back and drink water and lean forward. And I'm like, I feel gross and I don't want to eat because I feel gross. And I had blood work done because I always do anyways because I had to take blood thinners for an old blood clot. So like I'd just get my blood done anyways. Mm-hmm. So I got my blood done by appointment anyway. And the results came back and everything was pretty much great, except my potassium levels were really low because I wasn't eating fruit. And then I went online and looked up like the side effects of low potassium levels. And it was all the shit I was feeling. Low blood pressure, lethargy, like nausea, just every single thing was the result of not having enough potassium. And it was funny because at the time, Caitlin was making a lot of banana bread, and I was begging her to make banana bread all the time. Like, Caitlin, will you please make another banana bread? This shit is so good. And it was probably because my body was like, we need some bananas, anything. If it's in bread, I don't care. Yeah. So I started doing the fruit smoothies and putting a banana in each one, and it's like I literally feel like a different version of myself physically than I did before that because now I don't wake up like sluggish every single day.
Right.
It's awesome.
And your body's ready for it.
Bananas are super fruit.
Natural sugar. And like you said, regulating your insulin.
Yeah. Because I'm like really attuned to my blood pressure because my body is like the way it is. Like when I was in the rehab hospital, they would take my blood pressure like 5 times a day. Every time I'd go out in the hallway, they would just like beep, beep. So like I know what it feels like when I feel lightheaded. And when you just like can barely pick yourself up off the couch and you're like lightheaded and you just feel like hungry or you're like I'm hungry but I can barely walk to the fridge. Your blood pressure's low. It's super low, and like you're just not getting the shit in your body. And then when you're stressed out and your body's full of tension, and you have like a headache, and you can feel your heart beating in your head, and you're like, oh, that's high blood pressure. It's just the opposite feeling. It's tension as opposed to like, when you're lightheaded, you're so relaxed that you're like that it almost makes you feel sick. Those are the opposite ends of the blood pressure spectrum. So it's like if you feel so cranked that it's bugging you. Your blood pressure is probably high. And if you feel so weak that like everything feels like too much, your blood pressure is probably low. And they're combined. Like I feel like the two line up with your blood sugar. Right. You know what I mean? When your blood sugar is low, your blood pressure gets low. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's like you're just so weak. You're like, I need to chug a juice and take a bite of a sandwich. It's the only thing that's going to save me right now. It's like, you just know it. Something in you just
so
knows.
Much water. Sometimes I'll just like.
Yeah, water does the blood pressure trick too. It helps. It's an immediate help.
Yeah.
But it's got to be like a good amount. Like if you have low blood pressure, a couple of sips of water is not going to help. You need to like chug a bottle of it. Put it down.
I've been putting trace minerals in my water. Do you know what that is?
I know what it is, but I don't know much about it. I know that mineral-rich water is good for you.
Yeah, it's from the ocean. The minerals that they put in, and it's like. You just squeeze a couple drops, but it's supposed to help with cognitive function, digestion, and what else? Like memory, all sorts of things.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I just saw like an article the other day about there was, I don't remember where it was, doesn't matter. Somewhere northern, like it was, northern Russia or like northern Canada. And there was this village where the water source was very high in minerals. And the people that lived in the village were like low in cancers and all these other diseases because they were drinking mineral-rich water.
Yeah.
Should we call it?
Yeah.
What do you think? You want to talk more at a different date?
Yeah, we're going to do a different episode.
Okay, cool.
This is our first episode.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Yeah, there will be guests. We'll be talking about all the things that Nate has coming up.
All kinds of stuff.
And stay tuned.
Yeah, thank you.
Yay.
I like that we lost our logo.